Mr. Chair, so we spoke with the company. He can join in 5 minutes. So we'll get started on housekeeping comments in a couple minutes.
Great.
And then maybe we can, by the time we're ready, he'll be able to join.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure. Well, I think you want to see this guy's presentations for number 5. If we can get him to the front of the line, this way you get to see everything, and then we could go back to.
We're talking about JT Stenkamp, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Supervisor, if you did want to make that motion to waive presentation and just do it, we could do that too.
Supervisor, I'm open to that if you wish.
Can we be in the housekeeping comments, please?
Yes, please proceed with those. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for participating in today's meeting. If attending in person, please do not connect to Zoom or teleconference while in the room, and please silence all devices. If translation is provided, click on the globe at the bottom of your screen to select either English or Spanish. Public comment will be taken after each item. If you're in the auditorium and wish to comment, please use the iPads located in the lobby or complete a blue speaker card as available. If you need assistance, please find a South Coast AQMD employee. Speakers may be limited to a total of 3 minutes or less for all agenda items. Times may be shortened to ensure all speakers can be heard. A countdown timer will be displayed on the screen for each public comment. More time will be allotted for Spanish translation that is not simultaneous. For questions or issues on making a public comment, please call the public advisor at 909-396-2432. That's 909-396-2432. Please adhere to the speaker time limit and treat others with courtesy, civility, and respect. Failure to do so can result in your mic being muted or you being removed from the meeting. Be aware that this meeting is being recorded. By participating, you authorize recording of audio and visual content presented during the live event and consent to subsequent use of the recording in the public domain by South Coast AQMD.
Well, thank you and good morning. I want to welcome everyone to the Technology Committee meeting today, and we'll go ahead and start with a roll call, please.
Supervisor Hagman. Here. Mayor Locke Dawson.
Here.
Mayor McCallum.
Here.
Board Member Padilla Campos is absent. Supervisor Nguyen. Absent. And Chair Rodriguez.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. I think we are going to take things a little out of order here this morning and start with our presentation, which was slated for item 6. One of the initiatives I pushed for as chair of the committee is to bring guest speakers at our monthly meetings to share details about technology and projects we have funded or partner with. And over the past year, we've heard innovative technology projects such as the Joint Electric Truck Scaling Initiative, pilot project, and the e-trailer system being utilized as a key component in the electrification of heavy-duty fleets. And we've also heard from the ports on technology advances. Today, I'm particularly excited that we'll be shifting our attention to strategies to bring electric power to fleets when the grid is not available or ready to support a project. I'm pleased to introduce our guest speaker, JT Stenkamp from Prologis, to share his perspective on microgrid technology for fleet power. And welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning, Chair Rodriguez, committee members. I have a good news story to tell in how to solve problems at scale with microgrids that have been challenging to do without. If we could move to the slides. I am the Vice President of Prologis' Microgrids Group and Mobility. And this is a space where we look at EV charging, especially in heavier duty domains. Prologis is the world's largest industrial real estate company, and of course, we have a front row seat to very important electrification journeys of our customers, and are therefore privileged to assist in that electrification with capacity of infrastructure, etc. And this is also now becoming important as AI and data centers come to light. The problem statement is much larger as a result of that than it was a few years ago. If we can move to the next slide. So our on-demand power solutions is our name for microgrids. We provide for mobility infrastructure, for logistics facilities, and for data centers. And we provide a critical gap closure, either from the utility, so bridging utility delays so that we don't strand customers' assets. And I have a case study where I'll show how we did that, as well as then resiliency after. So once the grid joins, we now have this byproduct of resiliency in the face of energy security matters on the grid, as well as economic matters on the grid. So retaining flexibility for the customer to decide whether to dispatch the microgrid or the utility later is important, as you may know, things can be very expensive on the grid. And if you don't have a democratized choice, that can impact business as well. So the next slide shows you the size of this problem. When it comes time to start up a business at these scales, like a heavy-duty EV charging depot, such as the case was with our customer performance team, Maersk, they had 100 trucks on order. HVIP, amongst other support from California, was very important in kindling that business, that site. Those trucks were coming in 11 months, but the reality was that the utility wouldn't have been able to help us for about 3 years, we were told at the time. And this is not any particular utility's problem more than another. It is unfortunately just a reality of a constrained system in California, where some other data points here you can see 3 out of 3 projects in a row. We had very deflating news from an economic growth perspective at those scales, because they were all 3 years away. In fact, one of these utilities took 12 months to tell us it was going to take another 4 years to bring a project. Utility number 2, you could see there. So these are the stakes, and this was, this is before AI. This level of problem at 10 megawatts. This is the problem of community EV charging projects, public, medium, heavy duty things. You actually want high power sites because there's economies of scale that you can then better socialize with the driver community. And as you may know, the driver community, they don't all work for big companies. Most, in fact, of the drivers in the segment own 10 trucks or less, and they don't necessarily have the buying power to make their customer build an EV charger at that warehouse, a contract for which they might only have for 3 months. So therefore, essentially bringing it home as a more of a co-op centric big place gives a chance to diversify the load, share the fixed cost better across the pool, but it does mean that you need big power. And that's unfortunately and ironically the thing that we don't have quick access to really light a flame this industry. If we go to the next slide. So this is how we prove that you can solve it in California. Those 5-year stories, and we can actually help the utilities because we don't put pressure on them to build out these things, these capacities in the way that others might have. The utility does now have a choice to perhaps spend that precious limited resource in grid upgrade somewhere else for someone else. You know, the Olympics are coming. I can't imagine the pressures that utilities must be dealing with at this stage. But if we have the runway cleared, we can at least come and solve our own problem. And maybe that's a more equitable way of going about it anyway. If there are other higher pressing needs for capacity expansions. But we do need partners on these paradigms, breaking these paradigms. We're not trying to compete against utilities. We're trying to complement, make more resilient these assets and work in partnerships, not as pirate ships in these waters. So this particular project we built in 12 months in the city of Torrance. It was now about 1.5 years ago that we started it up. And I say 12 months, but that was really the whole development cycle, including permitting and everything. It was really a 5-month construction window for a 10 megawatt project. And just to put 10 megawatts into perspective, it's several thousand residences worth of power we're talking about here that we now we solved ourselves. This project was for those 100 trucks and did not delay the customer. We rescued those assets before they got stranded, and they have now been serving the communities of around the ports with much cleaner drayage as a result of it. Those gray boxes are Mainspring linear generators. That is a California company based out of Menlo Park in Northern California. Extreme low emissions, or I like to call these things mechanical fuel cells because the emissions profiles are so low. It's such low temperature, such controlled oxidation within those machines that that they, and I'll show it on the next slide, but their fundamental NOx emissions relative to a diesel equivalent fleet is 97% reduction. That is just a higher, better use for natural gas, even though these are also omnivorous in that you can feed them hydrogen. And that's actually an important future fitness aspect that I have a few slides in the back about. But even just starting with what's affordable and available today and using it in smarter ways with newer technologies like EV trucks results in reductions like that. In fact, we worked very closely with SE AQMD on the permitting aspect of this project and continue to do so as newer generations of linear generators come about. But they're really great because of that reason. They're low emissions, quality, very high efficiency for something of this scale. Modular, so you can squeeze them into nooks and crannies without creating necessarily new impacts and new greenfield sites. And so it's, for that reason, a really interesting tool for the democratization of energy because they can fit into smaller spaces where they are needed as well. If you look at the next slide, this tells you the story of sort of technology options in microgrids. And I'll just very quickly give you the column names, and then I'll give you the what those acronyms stand for. So when we look at technologies, we look at 4 pillars of, I call them value drivers. So the first one is dispatchability. So depending on the use case, loads can fluctuate significantly. And some technologies are more compatible natively with following fast loads than others. The solid oxide fuel cell, in principle, I love the idea of that SOFC, solid oxide fuel cell, because it is so high efficiency and its emissions are best in class, but it really doesn't like to behave like a PQ. You always have to add other technologies to help it do that, but then obviously you create more technology risk when you're forced to add more things together to control. Fuel flexibility is the second important, and this for me is the future fitness importance one. So we need to preserve our pathways to net zero, even if today a green hydrogen molecule isn't affordable for re-electrification, for making power from it. I would kick myself if I selected a technology that can only use natural gas today and can't flex tomorrow. So mechanical machines typically are far better at that. And that's another super important aspect of that technology, like a linear generator, LGen, and other technologies like a recip engine as well. That solid oxide fuel cell fares a little bit better, depending on how you configure it and buy it on day one. There is some degree of fuel flexibility there, but it's only partial. If you want to feed it 100% hydrogen in the future, today you have to swap out an expensive fuel cell when that happens. And you don't need to do that with mechanical machines if you select the right one on day one. Production capacity is the third pillar. Obviously, some of these technologies are very nascent. We took a lot of technology risk in even selecting the linear generator, as there has never been a project done like that with a linear generator before. And so they have now crossed over for me into sort of that early commercial space, which means it's time for scale with them. One would have to watch to see if they could also do service and duty for data centers. They are quite modular and quite focused on sort of their community, a convenience store, well, let's say a grocery store sized loads. And it may be wiser for much larger data centers to actually go a little bit more old school, but smart school with new recip engine technologies that have the right emissions treatment to meet the district standards, because they are far larger, better economies of scale, and have decades of experience behind them as well. Then finally is the life cycle costs. These obviously everything comes home this way in business. The levelized life cycle electricity costs, inclusive of all the capital costs upfront and the operating costs during the life of these assets. These assets are often 20 to 30 years in longevity. The fuel cost and their efficiency. So here, when you throw all of those ingredients into the salad spinner, you come up with a result where right now the mechanical machines by far have lower costs to produce a kilowatt hour than the solid state options of the proton exchange membrane fuel cell and the solid oxide fuel cell. Not to say that none of these are static columns. This is a slide that was minted a few days ago, and I would not be surprised if there's movement that you could see if you were to animate the slide with another one in 5 months from now. And I'll just end this lengthy slide by saying that that life cycle cost and the previous project that I showed, it's so important to know that this is grid competitive. That life cycle cost with that linear generator and the batteries that we had was more competitive. It was lower cost than buying power from the grid. In the particular circumstance of California, this much is true today. It may not be so in the future, but as long as we need to solve bigger problems on macro systems, this is a really good option for now. With the timelines of things like AI and business and electrification, and we can do it, but we need things like this to do it. All right, next slide. I think this pivots now to hydrogen. So hydrogen story, I mentioned that this is actually the arc of our thinking on gas to power solutions. It's the end game is flexibility. Here we show pathways, and these are called carbon pathways or energy pathways from where you harvest that that energy to where it gets delivered. On the right-hand vertical, you see a paradigm. You see wind, solar, transmission, batteries, because you need those things to actually ensure that what you're charging that truck with is green. Otherwise, it's a dog's breakfast. You could get all sorts of carbon ending up in that truck. I have an example in Chicago in February where it was, you wouldn't advertise that you were charging a clean truck in February in Chicago with what was going on in the grid. The importance of these microgrids and their energy storage component is they're more than just energy vessels. They're carbon credit vessels. You can trace the certificate in a battery as you could an electron and make decisions about what you should dispatch when with a microgrid. Should you be picking from the grid right now at 6 p.m. when there's a bunch of big gas turbines on it, or should you pick the slightly better linear generator right now because there's transmission savings, and so therefore the carbon is cleaner even with natural gas? Or are you lucky enough to have some solar on your battery that you stored from 3 hours before and make decisions? So we have a solution that is that intelligent, and AI, ironically, is also helping with such decisions, which were much more human-driven things in back offices before. On the left-hand side is the story of hydrogen. So most folks think of hydrogen as something that only belongs to certain classes of vehicles and very rare classes. Those are the white elephants on the road, the hydrogen vehicles. But the interesting thing is these rooftops, when you look at a Google image, there's so much space, there's so much availability still that we could do something with, something valuable. We do not have to get in queues necessarily with this poor stressed utility or this busy one with this backlog. We could solve with electrolysis essentially off-grid, or at least standalone, that additional surplus vacancy that was stranded. The vacancy is stranded on those roofs, and couple them with decentralized electrolyzers and right on premises provide not only a way to load out an alternative virtual wire, essentially, with hydrogen that only needs to move 5 miles away because the trucks are in these habitats of logistics in any case, but can also be re-electrified for EV charging. So that linear generator that is now there at that project in Torrance, if we're lucky with a pilot project, we might be able to demonstrate that the first time that we have served a heavy duty vehicle, whether that was a hydrogen one or a battery electric one, because we had a broader view of what a linear generator can be. It's not just as a electricity producing thing from today's natural gas, but also potentially as a future flexibility injector in a system that is desperate for flexibility. And then the final slide just shows it in the context of a network. So one might imagine a pilot program of a cluster of locations, all of which are orchestrated in such a way to balance the energy of these community hubs, and where there's both flexibility of battery electric heavy duty things as well as hydrogen things, and not just for logistics, but also for public fleets. We hope to see that what we do next with these sites and with the existing ones that we have, public fleets come and door knock. And if Foothills prefers hydrogen fuel cell vehicles today because of the nature of their route lengths and where technology is today with battery electric, perfect. We can help. We want to help. Our farm to table approach with green hydrogen is fundamentally, if you have the privilege of these spaces on these roofs, much better than trucking a bunch of cryogenic liquid hydrogen from Nevada. Fundamentally, it's the greenest you can find, and theoretically also the lowest cost way from both a community perspective and from just a pure business economics perspective to not go through all that craziness and just decentralize and just bring it home and farm to table. The need for hydrogen is not that crazy that we can't meet the demand. And I think we should just use the capacities in space and ingenuity and electrical capacity that exists in just smarter ways. And I think we can go a longer way than we think we can. And with that, I'll conclude my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Let me ask colleagues, do you have any comments, observation, or questions for Mr. Stenkamp? Supervisor?
Yeah, first of all, thank you. It's a fascinating solution to a common problem we see across Southern California right now, where our technology and need for energy is growing faster than the infrastructure to support it. Love to get more details about it. For my particular county, we got a lot of open space that needs energy, and I'd love to be able to talk to you and see what kind of solutions we have on it. And I guess the one question is, you said it's actually cheaper than the grid price you're paying when it's all said and done. How long does that amortization for your investment take before it really starts to pay off?
The payback, so the life cycle of our technologies are, as I mentioned, about 20 to 30 years. Payback periods are far shorter than that. I'll just say that from the perspective of when you put the right technology from the catalog to bear in the right way.
Great, thank you.
Sounds like some future conversations in San Bernardino County may be happening. That's great to hear. Any other questions, colleagues? Okay, seeing none, just having visited personally, very impressive to see just the opportunity to bridge the gap in capacity. A lot of opportunity, hopefully, to see that duplicated. Do you just briefly, what can you say about the coordination amongst kind of intergovernmental to see this and utilities to see this come to fruition? Could you briefly share a
Yeah.
little bit about that?
It was critical for that project. There was no chance in hell that we would have been able to pull off a miracle of 12 months at 10 megawatts in the city of Los Angeles, had it not been for partnershiping with various levels of government, the city of Los Angeles, LA Department of Water and Power, the CEC, AQMD, regulators, and other agencies were a key reason why we were able to do that. But it did require it required a new mental framing of these things not as threats but as complements, and beneficial in perhaps ways to the community that might not have been imagined before. For example, during the LA wildfire back in January, February of this year, we were obviously watching what was going on in the area, so from a business operations perspective, and the emergency map were lighting up with all sorts of grid outages, and coming closer and closer to the facility. We were obviously we knew that we wouldn't have a business impact because of the way that the project was built and had the assets to weather such events. But we were also privileged to make the asset available for emergency response services should it have been needed for electric vehicles. So in such futures where the macro grids are at risk because the substations are in places more exposed to fires, and that will have a knock-on effect to sites like this, at least. That's another benefit. The energy security also from the perspective of these unfortunate climatic realities give us a pretty solemn. We're just really happy that we can do that with things like this. I kind of want to see more electric fire trucks, so that yeah, if we could tell that story one day, that how it did help in the unfortunate circumstance that an emergency needed a megawatt charge. Yeah.
Well, again, to the spirit of collaboration and the accomplishment is noteworthy. We're really looking forward to hearing more about other opportunities in the hopefully near future, and we invite you back to update us on those efforts. I think we will hold off on any more questions. And do we have any public comment?
Oh, we do have one public comment. Ranji George has his
Okay.
hand raised.
All right, let's go ahead and take that comment. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Ranji George. Good afternoon, board members. I'm very pleased with the speaker's presentation. Appreciate the fact he put hydrogen on the same map as battery electric. Appreciate the fact that he confirms that hydrogen is probably the cleanest way to go. But I'm regretting that the board members at AQMD and the staff has not done that in the same spirit as the speaker has done. I looked at AQMD's agendas for the last couple of years. 99% of the effort seems to be going to battery electrics, charging stations, and other stuff, and the funding too. I'm really disappointed. I hope the board members will wake up and don't give up on hydrogen that easily. We need to fight. When we fought for hydrogen in the late 90s, we set the stage for both battery electric and hydrogen on the same platform. We were fighting against the establishment, and our careers were destroyed because of that. So I appreciate the speaker. Thank you again for the presentation. I hope the board gets inspired and continue to look closely at hydrogen, because let's face it, batteries are coming from China. 80% of the processing is done in China, and it's one of the dirtiest processes you can imagine. Batteries are maybe clean when it's operating, but then once it's the manufacturer and the disposal are among the dirtiest you can imagine. So I would appreciate you will continue to emphasize hydrogen, find resolutions to problems, which we did. We put together great effort to bring hydrogen up to the world's attention. We did it in AQMD in the late 90s, early 2000s. So I appreciate, again, for hosting this speaker with his presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the comment. Do we have any other comments in the queue?
Oh, Harvey just raised his hand.
Okay. Hello, Harvey, are you there? Did you have a comment?
Yes. My name is Harvey Etter. I'm the founder director of the Public Solar Power Coalition and been working on solar policy for over 50 years in the state. We were instrumental in starting the third largest electric utility in the state, the Clean Power Alliance, which is unincorporated areas of LA County, Ventura County, and 30 cities. I'd like to ditto what Ranji just said. We worked together in the 90s. We had a board member there, was an ex-nom vet that wanted to fight me over this stuff, trying to bring this stuff into the record. There's a history of this. So public power with EWP, but also, and with the Clean Power Alliance, but we're going to look at something else, that the state should have an entity, at least broke down the regions, to facilitate this. If we can do this, put it up in 5 months and get it out with policy in a year for 10 megawatts, and we can do that. We can do some stuff for real. And there's a whole lot of people. There's one guy, the great simplification. Okay, this guy comes from a finance background, and we got a degree in environmental economics, and he's talking garbage. He said solar can only do like 20%, and it's only electric. This is ignorant, and it's dangerous. And there's been critiques done of it a couple of years ago and retorts to that. And this stuff has to be looked at and cost effective, and externalities, the climate change, all these fires and floods and everything else. This is real. So this has got to be included. And economics basically has to be challenged. Modern economics does not say that we are not part of the ecosystem. This stuff has to be shot down and criticized, and you've got to look at the criticism of that in the viable, actual way the world works, and to use a true systems analysis. We got Elon Musk saying to Rogan on 2054 at 35 minutes that if we had 100 miles by 100 miles, we could have the solar 100% of all of the U.S.'s needs. And that's about 25% of the world's load. And Rogan asks, is that storage? Sure, yeah, we put in batteries. Okay, but we could do this with hydrogen. There are other ways. Solar thermal's basically been ignored, and we have to continue and keep on keeping on. All right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Do we have any others in the queue?
No additional raised hands.
Okay, and I don't see any other comments here. Chambers.
I might just offer a comment back about the just in resonance with the last speaker. When I see municipalities or jurisdictions drive out infrastructure of pipes, basically to make everything copper wire to serve everything. There are some jurisdictions where you're not allowed to install gas infrastructure anymore, and I don't think that that is a well thought out thing for the future of our planet. I think a smarter way of spending that energy would be to help the so-called gases and the PG&Es of the world with programs, incentives to make their distribution pipes hydrogen capable, perhaps. But destroying that value and future fitness by prejudging what pipes can do, I don't think that that's a wise thing to do.
Well, thank you for that, Mr. Stenkamp. Again, we're closing public comment, and we're going to have to leave it there because we have quite a few agenda items to get to, but we'll look forward to having you back, Mr. Stenkamp. And again, thank you for sharing the great accomplishments you've had in Torrance. Wish you a great rest of the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move back to action item 1. And I was actually going to say, colleagues, if you're okay to waive presentation on
Yeah,
this.
Mr. Chair, a couple of things. I have the disclosure for agenda item number 3. I do not have a financial interest, but I'm identifying for the record. I'm a regional council member for the Southern California Association of Governments, which is involved in this item. And I do make a motion on items 1 through 5, waive the presentation.
I would second that, and I would also like to give the same advisement that Supervisor Hagman did regarding SCAG. Thanks.
And I will ditto what he said about SCAG. I'm on that board also. I just have a question on item number 2 and on item number 4, if I might.
You want a second, and then we can go to discussion?
Second.
Okay, thank you. And go ahead and take your questions.
Okay. On item number 2, who are the people that are going to get this RFP dealing with training?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So this would be eligible for community colleges, universities, and trade organizations that they can apply for this RFP.
How will they know that they can apply? For
Well,
instance,
definitely, we've got an extensive list, and we'll be sending that around to our listserv, and we'll also be working with our legislative public affairs staff to spread the word, per se.
I want to make sure that the community colleges in San Bernardino County get a chance at this RFP.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And on item number 4, I thought years ago, at least since I've been on this board, that Cummins had a certified 0.02 gram motor. Is that not true?
Yes, they do. They have certified 0.02, but recently they have not certified for 0.02. They made a business decision because of some of the changes in the certification standards to certify at the 0.05 level.
So it was a business decision, not something that they couldn't do.
Right, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, were there any other questions before we call for the vote?
Just one comment from council. Mayor Locke Dawson, for agenda item number 1, there is an additional disclosure. She's a member of the California Air Resources Board, which is involved in this item.
Apologies. Yes, thank you for catching that. I'm sorry. Thank you.
And then also, we need to take public comment for across the board here? Or?
Yes, for each item.
Okay, so we'll just go ahead and hold and do that, see if there are.
They're the same ones.
So Ranji George has his hand up. This is just to clarify for item number 1. I think Ranji is muted.
Hello, Ranji. Did you want to go ahead and unmute, please?
Yes, please. Thank you. board members. My name is Ranji George. I was the ex-program supervisor. We led the zero emission projects. Actually, my comments are on item number 3. Is this a good time to say that, or should I wait?
Ranji, this is item number 1, so if you can wait until the votes are taken on items 1 and 2, and then we can take you.
I thought we were motion for 1 through 5, so.
So we have to take public comment on each separately. And it's recommended to take the vote separately, but if you'd like to make a motion, is there a second for that motion? To combine them, then we can do that.
We just did.
I think I did earlier.
We had a
Okay.
motion from the supervisor, second from the mayor,
Okay,
and for 1 through 5.
okay, so, should I take Ranji? Yeah. Okay, so I guess we can take Ranji right now.
Right. Okay. Ranji George, can you hear me, please?
Yes, go ahead, Ranji.
Thank you. This is on item number 3, and in that there is some data collection involved, and University of Irvine, if I read it correctly, is doing the data collection, and part of it is the CO2 emission reduction due to battery electric vehicles, and I would hope they will include, I'm sure they would, that during the charging there is some CO2 emissions every day when they charge, and the night profile when most vehicles are being charged, I have probably a bigger CO2 because they have base load operations. So I hope that will be seriously addressed. Then obviously it won't be addressed, I'm almost certain, would be the CO2 emissions from all the battery manufacturing and processing and packaging, which is happening in other countries, especially China. They have built dozens and dozens of coal plants.
Okay, and then just with regards to our motion, if there were other comments on 1 through 5, we can take them now.
Sure. Harvey Etter has his hand raised. Harvey, this is for items 1 through 5, and I believe you have 36 seconds on the clock.
Hello, am I being heard? Yes?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Harvey Etter. I'm the founder director of Public Solar Power Coalition. Been doing this for over 50 years in the state, political, economics, environmental problems, etc. Concerned about base load charging and carbon. Things can be done with solar thermal. There is an association that's been around for over 100 years for doing district heating and cooling. They've done back east and over in Europe. And this can be, technologies can be used, and it's been around.
Thank you for your comment. I'm not seeing any others in the queue, unless I'm missing any.
No other hands are raised.
Okay, seeing none, I don't see any others in the chambers. We'll go ahead and close public comment and call for the vote, please.
Supervisor Hagman,
Hagman, aye.
Mayor Lock Dawson,
Mayor, I think you're on mute.
I am. I'm sorry. I'm got a couple different windows open. Yes.
Mayor McCallum.
Yes.
Board Member Padilla Campos is absent. Supervisor Nguyen,
Yes.
Chair Rodriguez,
Yes?
motion passes 5 ayes.
Okay, thank you, colleagues. We'll move to any other business. Anyone? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move to our general public comment period. And looks like we have a comment. Mr. Etter, go ahead, go right ahead.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you. Go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. My name is Harvey Etter. I'm speaking for myself, PSTC, etc. I wanted to hear those presentations, and I tried to say that and I was cut off. Okay, so I think it's important and the whole process to get this out there for the public and everyone to know. And it's violations of the Brown Act, etc., in the spirit of the law. And There's problems with this agency and not meeting federal state standards ever. And now having a federal plan coming in and taking away federal money with our new administration, there's no telling what's going to happen. Okay, this is serious stuff, and it has to be taken seriously, and we need a regularly expanded, not purging the people. And that's what's happened. We brought you the Solar New Deal, 100 exhibits based on the Sunshot program from DOE. We got purged. It was never evaluated by this entity or by CARB or by EPA. And we're going to have to litigate on it and give a notice, et cetera, et cetera. So enough's enough. It's time to do your job, folks. And this whole thing, 10-year purge from the ports and everything else, you know, this is also very serious stuff. You got no right to give away your police power and enforcement, and it's going to come back on you to haunt you. And the same thing with 1111, 1121. There's no solar in there. Solar was developed here 150 years ago. 90% of the hot water in Israel is solar. The first solar thermal plants, 350 megawatts, were out in the desert 40, 50 years ago. This is stuff that's proven and has been proven and is being purged and
Harvey,
ignored and set on the side.
This is actually relevant to a different committee. I just would ask that you keep your comments focused to the technology committee. You can proceed.
Hello, Harvey.
Okay.
You want to continue, please?
He's on mute.
He's on mute. Yeah.
Harvey, do you want to unmute and continue with your comment?
Okay, it's the same thing like comments that the fellow said about, you know, the concern about purging out natural gas. Okay, we brought this up on September 12th of August of 16, putting comments in on the 16 Solar New Deal. We brought up that we're actually at 780 parts per million 10 years ago with CO2 equivalent from methane and nitrous oxide. The Arctic is melting, the tundra is melting. And they try to put it off these different ways. Like, this is the real, and those are the real numbers. And that's what we got to deal with, the real. Now, enough with purging the truth. I'm sorry, I get pretty huffy, and there's reasons why. There's a body count here, just like they used to announce every day in NOM and stuff. Enough is enough.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a comment from Ranji George?
Yes.
Yes, my name is
Ranji,
Ranji.
go right ahead, please.
My name is Ranji George. I was ex-program supervisor at Technology Advancement Office. I would like to support Mr. Eder's comments. You know, this agency should be at the forefront proclaiming solar. It's zero emissions. It's needed for both batteries and hydrogen. And yet it's very muted. I don't quite understand this. This is a completely befuddling our mind. Why AQMD is not more aggressive on the cutting edge. I think ARB was way behind. Now they are up front, and CEC, of course, leading the way. But AQMD should join that because we have the best sun. Not too many places in the world has this facility as we do. And as Mr. Eder has pointed out, we could be doing solar thermal. That technology is not even in the agenda. I mean, usually Technology Advancement Office starts the technology discussions and then goes to other committees. We are on the cutting edge. I thought the TAO is on the cutting edge. Nothing has been talked about solar thermal, and whereas other countries are ahead on this game, even many emerging countries have solar thermal. But here, we are not doing that. I don't understand. Rooftop solar water heaters are popular in other countries, and why not we explore that? So I urge you that to put more focus on solar, and I agree with also Mr. Eder that you really should look at each agenda item. Since you are policing millions of dollars, every item should be discussed openly so there are people who are listening in can hear staff comments and your feedback on that. So I urge you, please do not rush through these agenda items. I know you're busy, but you also have been entrusted with the responsibility of taking care of public dollars. for the benefit of us and for the future. Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Thank you for your comment. I'm not seeing any other comment in the queue. Is that right?
I see no raised hands.
Okay, and nor do we have any other comment from the chamber. So we'll go ahead and close our public comment period, and that'll conclude our meeting for the day, colleagues. Our next meeting will be Friday, September 19th at noon, back at noon time. And in the meantime, wish you all a great rest of the day and a great weekend. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone.